Good day and welcome to this Silly Point podcast, reviewing the second and what turned out to be final day of this third test in Ahmedabad between India and England. Joined by Declan Hooper for Wickets and Pickets. My name is Phil Dillon. 17 wickets in one day. I'm still trying to get over it. It's like been a couple of days to trying to sink in, but it was just incredible to think that a test match could finish well inside 2 days.
It was the quickest test match since World War II. It was pretty astonishing to watch. I think I was messaging you at the time. It just seemed like every ball was going to be a wicket-taking ball at one point. It was just crazy. And when you've got a part-timer taking fifers, it was exciting to watch, but I'm not sure if it was exciting to watch in the right way. You know what I mean?
Wickets came because spinning. Everybody had been talking about how difficult it was to play on the wicket, and how difficult it has been. But so maybe it was inside the batsman's head on both sides that the ball was going to do things, ridiculous things. I don't think personally that it was an ideal wicket for test cricket. As I said to you during our little exchange on Messenger, that wickets that spin that early in a test match mean that in my opinion, that the pitches have been underprepared or even overprepared, and so it's not good for test cricket. It's not good for that stadium. It's its first ever game, to hold a test match, the biggest cricket stadium in the world.
I think you are right in the sense that it was probably over-prepared. Looking at the pitch, 21 of the 30 wickets that fell were to straight balls. And I actually think that there's something in that. If you look at the balls that got people out, I think it was there'd be every 1 in 6 would turn a mile or stay low. And I think that's why when the straight ball came, that the batsmen weren't prepared for it because it was almost doctored too much.
Yeah. I think we could go backwards and forwards about the pitch all the time, but you look at the two shots that Johnny Bairstow played when he came out to bat. The first one, a wild sweep to his first ball, which he was very lucky to. We were very lucky not to get LBW to. And the next ball he playing for spin, and it didn't spin, and it went straight on and bowled him. But there was a huge gap between the bat and pad, as it was for Zach Crawley. So you've got to question the technique. The ball shouldn't be turning that much on the second day. It shouldn't be turning really until day 3 or day 4 at that rate. Even in India, and then for Virat Kohli to suggest that the pitch was a great wicket on the first day, that everybody just didn't apply themselves was laughable, really.
Well, to be fair, I do think that the pitch in Chennai, it was the second time they used the pitch in Chennai. So, it does have a history of turning the pitch in Chennai. So I think the actual pitch in Chennai probably had more turn in it. But I think you contribute other factors like I think in the post-match, Joe Root suggested that the lack of the pink ball actually skids quicker than the red ball. I think once you contribute them factors, then it makes a harder pitch to play on or harder conditions for the batsman to play on than Chennai. Because at least, 3 batters in Chennai got over 50 and played well. Whereas I think, Rohit Sharma, and he looked as un-Rohit Sharma as we've ever seen. And I say Zach Crawley also got 50, but he got most of his runs from seam bowlers. So I think when you contribute all these factors, that's why the conditions were so bad.
England would have realised after they'd won that first Test match, or they should have realised after they won that first Test match in such, so clearly that the Indians were not going to give them a pitch like that again. They needed to make it as Indian as they could, in inverted commas, as an Indian style wicket, as much as they could. And that's what they've done in the last 2 Test matches. They've made them into raging turners, and it's quite clear that England players haven't got the technique to do that. I mean, as I say, it's something they should have worked on. But by the same token, you're playing against Ravi Ashwin, the fastest spinner to 400 wickets. Or might be the fastest bowler to 400 wickets in Test history, I think. I'm not sure. So, and then Axar Patel, who looks like he's going to be a star of the future. Joe Root admitted they slightly misread the pitch. Which is a bit of an understatement. And they went with, Jofra Archer, Stuart Broad, and Jimmy Anderson in the same team. Of course, you would go with those 3 as that would be your best attack. Look, if he's going to bowl like that, then you don't mind him and Jack Leach being the spinners in the side. But what they should have done is possibly, if they think that the wicket's going to turn as much as, realise then that it's going to be different, then we go with an extra batsman and take out one of Archer, Broad, and Anderson.
Obviously, Moeen left, but looking at that, he would have been the perfect pick, in my opinion, because he can bat.
Yeah, would have been.
And he bowls great to the left-hander, which I think, Axar Patel showed that he was the perfect bowler, a perfect kryptonite for a lot of the England batsmen. Yes, the pitch was, you can't get away from it. The pitch favoured India. However, 2 teams have to play on that pitch, right? And I do think we saw India being all bowled out for 145 showed that India struggled just as much as England did on that pitch, to a certain extent. So if the game's going to go like that, you have to put yourself in the best position to win. I don't think England put themselves in the best position to win by their squad selection. If they had Jack Leach bowled really well, if they had an extra frontline spinner and then Joe Root is your 3rd spinner, then you got to say, okay, well then they might be with the chance here because they just play India at their own game.
Yeah, but you've still got to get runs on the board to be able to put yourself in that situation. And England getting 112 in the first innings, as it went to prove, if they got 200, 250, which they could have done,
they would have won.
They're going, they put themselves in a fantastic position to win the game.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm saying that they probably could have gone with an extra batter rather than one of the 2-3 seamers instead of it. If you're going to get Joe Root, if they think they only need 2 spinners, then go with an extra batsman.
Looking throughout the game, you've had some very disappointing performances from England players. The one that screams out to you is Johnny Bairstow with a pair. He looked as unconvincing possibly can be. Ollie Pope 1 in the first innings, 12 in the second innings. Again, unconvincing. I thought Dom Sibley in that second stanza looked about as scared a batsman as I've seen in a very long time. Just from the eye test, I think it's pretty concerning to see so many English batsmen just look so out of their depth.
Yeah, as I said before, it's like a lot of them wouldn't. They're all young players. They probably haven't seen those situations before.
Are they that young?
Well, they are, but don't forget, like you just said, the Indians struggled too.
They did.
So a lot of it has to go down to the pitch. I mean, I've looked at this and looked at this and looked at this, and I'm thinking, the pitches, the ICC haven't come in and said that why is this pitch, why are we getting a test match finishing inside 2 days? The last test match finished inside 3 days. Why is this happening?
Right.
Is it because the batsmen aren't good enough, or is it because of wickets? Now,
I think it's all three. So, I think yes, batsmen weren't good enough, but you say younger players like Johnny Bairstow has played on Indian pitches before. He got a pair and looked unconvincing. He's played in the IPL for the last 4 seasons.
Why he wasn't ready was because he just kept flown in off a plane. And he probably hasn't even picked up a bat over the last 6 or 7 weeks by when he went back from Sri Lanka. So he did play some. He bought the first, that second innings, especially the sweep shot, and the next one he got. That was, for a number 3 batsman, it was pretty.
So you have to put at least that one down to technique.
Yeah, but don't forget he's just come off a plane and he's probably I don't know. I'm surprised that they put him in it that high up the order.
Well, it matter. It could be. He played in Sri Lanka, which have got especially the first test in Sri Lanka. That had wickets falling over the place as well. But the conditions aren't that dissimilar in Sri Lanka to what they are in India. He would have known what to expect.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but all I know is that probably going to get a similar wicket unless the ICC step in and say, "Come, we need these wickets to be better," because we can't have Test cricket finish inside 2 days and 3 days. It's not good for the public. Yes, the batsmen might not have been up to it on that, but. By the same token, a lot of them would never. The Indians wouldn't have seen a pitch that turned as much as that. I'm sure.
But the thing was, it wasn't the turn that was the problem. It was the lack of turn.
Yeah, but the point is the turn, because they think it's going to turn all the time. It puts doubt in their mind. So that's why it's such a bad wicket. It's because it's turning every other ball. The 4 innings in India, if that third test match, didn't get past the 2020 scores of in Australia and New Zealand in Dunedin. That's just rubbish. Honestly, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. You can't have that.
But okay, but I do think it is too easy. Yes, the pitch. You have to look at all 3 factors, and I think it is too easy on both England and the Indian players to just say it was a bad pitch. That was it. I think there is something to be said for that pink ball and nighttime Test cricket in general, that it isn't conducive to big scores with that. And
England didn't bat long enough to make it to go into nighttime cricket though.
No. But India got rolled all pretty well. And as I say, I do think you go to some of it. You just got to say put down to just poor batting from both teams.
Sometimes they've got to, the people who prepare these pitches they've got to take something, because otherwise you're just going to get countries just doing this all the time and making it. I know you're supposed to be able to play on all surfaces if it's a test match. I understand that, but it's got to be. I think it's got to be a fair contest. You can't just like. I just want to see what they're going to do for the 4th test. I mean, I can't imagine it's going to be any different.
No, it'll be more of the same. It'll be more of the same.
And Virat Kohli saying he knows what he's done. He knows what he's asked for.
I do think that you can also read into them comments a little bit, like Joe Root saying that I shouldn't be taking 5 wickets. Well, he did bowl very well, and it was Ravi Ashwin trying to score quickly, and he gets caught out in the deep. I think that is again a little bit too easy to just say, "Oh well, I shouldn't be taking 5 wickets." if you look into it, yes, 2 of his wickets were Turners, and they were brilliant balls, actually, great deliveries. But then the rest of them were just him cleaning up the tail with sloppy
is Ravi Ashwin tail though? Really, he just got 100 in the last Test match, so he's better than your Jimmy Andersons and Jeffrey Archers. So
right, but you got to take his point. You got to look into his point though, in saying, right, okay, Ravi Ashwin playing a silly sweep shot that gets caught out on the boundary. I mean, I don't think that point is that valid in the overall wash.
He had plenty of other chances that he would have taken the wickets earlier if the ball had done. He could have taken a wicket with every ball as well. So I think the point he's making is that it was doing too much, and I'm sure Virat Kohli knows that too.
Well, but look, let me pose you this. No one disagrees that the pitch was poor, but India go to England for a 5-test series in the English summer. What's to stop England from just making an absolute, grassy pitch seem as paradise?
Yeah, but don't forget, India now have Ishant Sharma, Mohammad Siraj, etc. They're not that far behind an England attack as far as seam bowlers are concerned. So you've got to be careful what you wish for. You've got to be careful what you wish for.
And here's where it comes down to, in the sense that yes, pitches can be unplayable, but two teams have to play on that pitch at the end of the day, right? And if India are going to play that way, England need to be smarter, especially in this next test. As bad as it is, England have to play in the conditions that they're dealt. And if they don't help themselves by picking the right squad, then they're behind the 8 ball to start off with anyway. I understand bio bubbles and all that kind of thing, but I mean, India, when India came out to Australia, they had a full test squad that stayed for the whole T20s, ODIs, and test. Why? I don't understand. I get that, players need some rest and all that kind of thing. But I mean, if English players are signing up for a test tour, surely they, do the test tour. That doesn't make any sense to me.
I wonder how many of them, when they're getting paid $1.4 million, will do the same in the IPL. Do they go home during the IPL? Probably not. Now, Chris Silver was trying to tell us what was happening with Moeen, and I still couldn't understand it really. I still couldn't make it out. Look, we're not in that situation. We don't know what it's like to be in that bubble. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you spent more than 2 weeks in a hotel on your own. So but they're not necessarily on their own either. So I don't know exactly how it feels. So you've got to cut them a little bit of slack. But it seems to me the strangest thing to allow somebody to go home who's just one of your better performers in the second test. Well, and somebody could have given you a better chance of winning the third test.
Well, and the other thing is, the test championship was there to make to the final, and you'd think that both teams, well, India have, but you think that England would want to put their best foot forward as far as that goes. And to me, the best foot forward is by putting your best team out in every test.
Well, maybe but they thought that was their best team because they thought that the pink ball was going to do stuff for the seamers rather than the spinners.
I do think.
I don't know why they thought that. I mean, even if Joe Root thinks that the pink ball lacquer is going to make the ball skid on a bit more, then it would have been better for the seam for spinners anyway, rather than the seamers. If that's the case, in my humble opinion.
I mean, there's definitely some performances we need to shout out. Axar Patel, 11 wickets in the match. I mean, God, if he's India's third choice spinner, the rest of the world's got some problems then, because I think he was outstanding.
He was. A fair play to him. Ravi Ashwin is good as well. He
was good.
Like I said, I think he's got Ben Stokes in his pocket at the moment. If like Darryl Cullinan was Shane Warne's bunny, then Ravi Ashwin is Ben Stokes is Ravi Ashwin's rabbit, big time. And you look at Ben Stokes's demeanor at the moment. He just laughing at things. When that catch was called not a catch the other day, he was just laughing at the decision, etc., etc. And he just seems to be a bit more. He's a bit blasé about things, I think. At the moment, I don't know why.
Well, doing handstands in the last test as well. You know, like
maybe the bubbles got to him. I don't know. He's just like he's not the player we've seen over the last 2 years or so. At the moment, he's not the Test cricketer of the year like he was last year. At the moment,
I mean, he does. I mean, we can all say this, but he does have a knack of pulling out of big innings. At some point, like, I mean, we saw it against the West Indies, we saw it against Australia. Like, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he now goes and scores 100 in the next game. But in the same sense, you are completely right in the sense that he doesn't look like he's got that killer instinct in the same way that we have seen him have that killer instinct in the past.
They're just being ground down at the moment. I think they're just like everything. They probably feel like. I read a column by Jonathan Agnew on the BBC. He's saying they shouldn't go into a bunker mentality, which is probably what they've done. They think the world's against them. They probably think the world's against them at the moment. Like they get complaining about DRS, they're complaining about catches not given, which quite clearly the ball touched the ground the other day. I mean, I don't know what they were looking at compared to what we were looking at, but. I think that quite clearly touched the ground, and again, there's like dissent towards umpires on the field, but it's not their fault. They're not the ones making the decision. I keep going on about this. It's not a good look. Do you think umpires?
Do you think that, like, I don't know because I'm not English, but do you think looking at that is that a bit of a, from the outside looking in, it looks like a little bit of a English mentality in historically, the kind of bunker mentality, as you say, and I think where England has had success is they've been a bit more kind of killer instinct, as you say, like in the ODI World Cup and them kind of scenarios. They have been a lot more puff your chest out and a bit more brazen. In the likes of like the way India are to a certain extent now. And do you think that is actually something like a mentality switch that England need to make?
Yeah, I think it's difficult when you're not used to playing on the wickets. That they've sort of like they're digging in rather than trying to bat their way out of it. Like, but I don't know what the answer is. I'm sure they don't know what the answer is either, because, like I said, it's attack and they get out, defend and they get out. So, what do you do? What do you do as a batsman coming in? What's your game plan? They've just got to try and find a game plan that tries to negate, two of the best spinners in the world at the moment, and that's bloody difficult to do on wickets that they're unaccustomed to playing on. I know that, like we say, it's the same for both sides. And India did struggle in their second innings. Their first innings in the last test. So, but you're not going to win test matches by scoring 112 in your first innings.
No, and that's
obviously, and this is what I'm not getting, is why that you're not getting somebody who's trying to stick in. I suppose, like David Warner would say, there's a ball with your name on it, as in a wicket. So you've just got to go for it. That's his mentality. That's what he's done in the past, and that's used to be the way that Ben Stokes did. I mean, he and Joe Root almost got away in that second innings. They put on a few, but then both of them got done as well by straight ones, as you say.
I mean, I suppose Dom Sibley and Joe Root are both in the team to kind of do that, to be the one that sticks around. I mean, Dom Sibley, when he does do it, he makes big runs by sticking around. But, I mean, the problem is when it doesn't happen, it seems like it all falls on Joe Root to do that. And it is not going to happen. It's not going to happen every time. And at the moment, it seems like you either got Joe Root scoring a big score, or England getting rolled for less than 200, and not much in between. What's next? What do we? I mean, the one thing we've said is we can't predict Indian Test matches, but here we go. Let's predict an Indian Test match. What's next? Next test? What are you saying?
If England want to stick with two spinners, then they have Joe Root and Jack Leach, but you bring in another batsman in, they maybe get a return for Rory Burns up the top and chop Johnny Bairstow down the order and give him a bit more, breathing space. It was, I think it was a little bit unfair on him in some respects to put him in number 3 when he just, hasn't been in the Test side for 2 months or whatever. And I don't know what the answer is. I think that's probably what I'd do. But, I mean, Joe Root, they said he misread the pitch last time and went with just the 2 spinners. Maybe they go with 3 again. Dom Bess. Some people said he was a bit unfair on him to be dropped anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he can definitely bat. Ollie Pope looks like he's another one who's like a rabbit in the headlights. He's definitely a quality performer on his day. And Joe Root is now been sucked into that group of non-performing because of the pressure that's put on him all the time. Because and like you say, without Joe Root, they don't look like getting past 150, let alone 200. I don't know. Anything's going to be better than what happened in this last test. I just hope for as much entertainment, but that it lasts for 4 days rather than 2 days. Or we go. Well, you don't expect every test match to go into the, like the Brisbane test, go into the last day, the final over, or close to the final over. A thrilling finish. Nobody expects that every test match, but what you do expect is something that lasts at least 4 days and gives us a little bit. Don't forget, there's 60,000 people in that stadium for 2 days running. 60,000 every day.
Yeah,
and they, like Joe Root said, they've been robbed of at least 2 days of Test cricket. I
agree with that.
So you got to think of the paying public and a lot of people in England now are getting those Test matches on free to air, so TV. So they would have been looking forward to watching that for 4 or 5 days as well, and they'd be disappointed that it's finished there. I mean, it's obviously down to some of the batting and down to the pitch, but I don't know what England do next. Bat better. That's the answer.
Great. Well, on that note, with our thrilling analysis there, England, all they need to do, that better.
Right.
We'll leave it there, mate. Thanks for your time again, and I'm sure we'll have plenty more discussions for the fourth and final test. Thanks for your time again, mate, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Okay, mate. Cheers.